And we're back on the Consumer Debt Radio Show. Attorney Michael Goldstein from the Law Office of Goldstein & Clegg, Attorney Jill Phillips from Legal Administrative Answers. And Jill, we're talking today about assets that consumers have, specifically relating to their job and to their other assets that allow consumers to pay their bills. And we have on the phone with us today Attorney Deirdre Clegg from the Law Office of Goldstein & Clegg. And Deirdre is an employment discrimination and a labor attorney who handles a lot of plaintiff-side employment. And one of the things that Attorney Clegg works on quite a bit is helping and assisting consumers really stay in their job and not be put in a position where they could conceivably be terminated or disciplined for standing up for their rights. So, Deirdre, are you with us?
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
We're fine. We're fantastic. Thanks for joining us on the Consumer Debt Radio Show. And just to reiterate, anybody who wants to hear the interview we're about to have with Attorney Clegg can check us out online at www.consumerdebtradio.com. So, Deirdre, reason that we thought we'd have you on today is, as you know, many consumers out there are really concerned about their income and their ability to pay their bills as a result of a fear of losing their job. And, it's something that really it strikes to the heart of the whole Consumer Debt Radio Show, in that we want to help our consumers, help our listeners understand that they do have rights out there and there are things they can do to protect their assets.
Correct.
All right. So I thought we might talk a little bit about things that happen at work. So let me ask you this. If you're being harassed at work, or if you think that you're involved in a situation where you're being scrutinized or something to that extent, I mean, do you have any rights? I mean, do you have the ability to stand up for yourself in that situation?
Yes, you do.
And if that happens, really, what should you do?
First of all, you should open up your company's policies and procedures relative to making an internal complaint, and follow the policies and procedures outlined in your company handbook.
All right.
Initially, it would most likely instruct you to file a complaint with Human Resources.
And Attorney Clegg, it's Jill Phillips. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What happens if a company doesn't have an employee handbook? What would an employee do if they're being harassed?
First of all, the employee should make a complaint with the Human Resources Department in their company. If the company does not have a Human Resources Department, they should make a complaint with their direct supervisor.
Okay. Well, what happens in the event that it's actually the direct supervisor who is creating the problem?
Again, you should make the complaint with Human Resources. However, if there's no Human Resources Department and the harasser is your direct supervisor, you should make a report to your direct supervisor's manager.
So, let me ask you this. We talk about fear. We've been talking about fear of, today employees are afraid to lose that job. And what would you say to employees who are being harassed and they're afraid they're going to lose their job if they report this harassment?
Well, if the employee makes a complaint that is protected under Massachusetts General Laws 151B, such as a complaint of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, sexual orientation discrimination, religious discrimination, and the like, and they make a report to Human Resources or management, and they are retaliated against, they are protected under Massachusetts General Laws.
So, in other words, an employee should be afraid to do this. They should
not be afraid to do this.
Okay.
They should make the complaint in accordance with the company's policies and procedures, which would be outlined in the company handbook.
All right. So the bottom line is that you have rights. You have the ability to stand up for yourself, and if you stand up for yourself, you're not going to be retaliated against, or at least there are laws to protect you from that happening. But let's take this into a little bit of a different direction. A lot of people out there, hopefully, are in good positions with their supervisors and with everybody, and everyone, as the old saying goes, can't we all just get along? But one of the big fears I think out there is, well, we don't. I don't want to do anything that could jeopardize my job. So I'm sick, and I need to have an operation, or my wife is pregnant, and I really need to be there with her for a couple of weeks. I mean, do you have any right to take any significant time off for any medical reasons?
Under FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, this act covers private sector employees with 50 or more employees. Also, it covers government employers, including federal, state, and local agencies and schools. If you are eligible to take leave under the FMLA, you must have worked for your employer for at least 12 months and have worked at least 1,250 hours. If you suffer from a serious medical condition, or you need to take time off to care for a child, spouse, or parent suffering from a serious medical condition, you are eligible for 12 weeks unpaid leave, which is a protected leave.
Okay. Well, what happens if at the end of the 12 weeks, let's just say, you have a broken leg, and you're just not in a position to return? Does the employer have to keep that job open after 12 weeks?
Yes, the employer does have to allow you to return back to work. Your employer must restore you to your regular job or an equivalent position at the same rate of pay.
So if you go out on FMLA, does an employee have right to wages at that point, or is it just a leave that they're allowed to take?
It's an unpaid leave, but however, if the employee has vacation time or personal time, they may use that time during their leave.
Okay. Well, let's kind of take it a step further. Certainly one of the big fear factors, I think, out there for consumers is that, what if I get hurt while I'm working? Do I really want to report this injury to anybody at work? Because I don't want to create any liability for the company. I certainly don't want to put myself in jeopardy. So maybe they say, hey, look, I was hurt. I need to go have an operation or something. They don't have to tell them how they were hurt. I mean, is there something different where you get hurt at work versus if you simply just have a medical situation?
Well, if you get hurt at work, if you're able to do so, report the injury to Human Resources or your direct supervisor. However, if you're unable to do so and you need immediate medical attention, when you're at your healthcare provider's office, you need to inform your healthcare provider that you were injured on the job, and your employer should file a workers' compensation claim with their insurance company.
Okay. Well, if they file this workers' compensation, is that any different than the FMLA? For example, I mean, certainly you've expressed that, the employer has to keep the job open for a certain period of time due to a medical situation should they be a qualified employee. But would you be able to receive any compensation in that case?
Well, depending on the type of disability that you suffer from, typically an employee receives 60% of their pay while out on workers' comp leave. Okay,
so I guess let's bring this back to we were talking about the consumers, as I was saying, and about their jobs. So if, the fear thing, Attorney Clegg, is that, employees are like, oh, if I get injured at my job and I don't want to cause trouble, they'll say, and I don't want to say anything, and I'll just go to the doctors by myself. This is a way of thinking that shouldn't be. These employees should not be afraid to announce that they, got, stabbed with a stapler or whatever. I mean, thinking on a legal term, we would get stabbed by a stapler, I guess. But that's about what ours would be. Well. Either that or, with Mike, we won't want to talk about maybe getting hit with some sort of hard drive. But, I mean, an employee should not be afraid. These are protected processes, so they shouldn't be afraid to do this.
No, they should not. They should make the complaint with Human Resources initially and their direct supervisor.
So what happens if an employee does get a lot of pushback, or they're getting, they say, oh, yeah, you didn't really get injured, just go back to the line and start doing your thing. What can an employee do in that case? What's the power that they have at that point?
At that point in time, I would advise the employee to seek medical attention and document the injury with their healthcare provider.
Okay. And then go see someone like you.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
All right. And now, if there was the case, I would presume the employee has the right then to go to the Department of Industrial Accidents and file a workers' compensation claim on their own.
Yes, if the employer does not or refuses to file the workers' comp claim, the employee can do that with the Department of Industrial Accidents.
Okay. So, what we're hearing from you really is that, the consumers out there really have nothing to fear at this point. And, they have a right to stand up for their rights. They have a right to, to be sick. They have a right to medical attention. They have a lot of rights out there, and it's their job, as we said in the beginning, it's not an eggshell that you're walking on. I mean, it is there. You have some solid rights out there, and you certainly shouldn't be afraid. And, at the end of the day, I mean, this asset that we keep talking about, your job, is so critical that you do need to try and protect it. The same as, if, hey, look, your house is an asset, and if somebody came to your house with a blowtorch, you're not going to let them burn the house down. And it's the same thing with the job.
Correct.
I mean, you're not going to, you shouldn't just roll over.
Follow the company policies and procedures and make that complaint, and don't be scared of retaliation.
All right. Well, that's really helpful. Now, just for our listeners out there, if they'd like to get more information from you, how can they get in touch with you?
They can contact me at 617-974-7774 or on the internet at D.Clegg at Goldstein, Goldstein, and A&D, Clegg, Clegg, law, lew.com.
Well, that's great.